You're standing beneath the cracked marquee of the old Orion Opera House, the rain tapping out a nervous rhythm on your umbrella as the clock crawls toward midnight. Can you hear the impatient murmur of the crowd inside? The electric buzz that always coils around a stage just before the curtain lifts. You take a breath that tastes of wet concrete and distant thunder, and you step through the double doors into the lobby where velvet drapes cling to memories of better nights. Within seconds, an usher in a tailcoat whispers the first impossible sentence you'll hear tonight. The headliner, world-famous illusionist Dorian Vale, has been found dead in his private dressing room. The door was locked from the inside, the only window nailed shut, every key accounted for. No footprints in the hallway's fresh mop water, no hidden hatch, no forgotten stagehand skulking in a corner. A locked room, a lifeless magician, and an audience that still expects a show. How does that even begin to make sense? You edge closer to the dressing room corridor, and the air smells of grease paint and ozone, as if some stray bolt of lightning veered indoors. A police officer blocks the threshold, explaining that the crime scene is sealed tighter than a bank vault, yet your curiosity slips past him on tiptoe, imagining what waits beyond that door. A toppled mirror, the scattered deck of custom playing cards Dorian always carried, and perhaps one lingering puff of theatre smoke curling like a question mark. Then comes the second impossible sentence. Every performer has an alibi. The fire eater was rehearsing on stage under bright spotlights. The contortionist was live streaming a warm-up in the green room, time-stamped for anyone to see. The stage manager, a human metronome, never left the control booth where digital logs confirm her presence. Even Dorian's own assistant, the quick-witted Lila, was seen on the catwalk, making final checks to the trapdoors. Nobody, it seems, could have slipped away, entered a locked room, committed murder, and vanished. All in the span of a heartbeat. You drift back to the grand auditorium. Rows of empty seats glow faintly in the emergency lighting while thunder rattles the high arches. Isn't a storm a kind of illusion too? A sudden brilliance, a crash, and then darkness. You wonder whether Dorian loved storms for the same reason he loved mirrors. Both reveal and conceal with equal flair. Moments later, Detective Soria arrives, coat flapping like a restless curtain. She invites you to tag along, not as a suspect, she assures you, but as a witness who understands the language of stagecraft. Together, you approach the dressing room door, its brass knob shining like a stubborn secret. Soria slips the master key into the lock, the click slicing the hush in half, and you step inside. Your eyes sweep the cramped chamber. One bulb flickers above the makeup table, casting shadows that dance across the walls. Dorian lies on the carpet, a single red silk scarf wound around his throat. No blood, no struggle, only that whisper-thin fabric pulled tight. Beside him, his pocket watch is stopped at 11:46. The precise moment the stage manager noted a power surge in the light grid. Coincidence or choreography? Soria mentions that Dorian's final illusion tonight was marketed as the midnight vanishing. He would enter a crystal cabinet. The clock would strike 12. Thunder would roar, and he would disappear. The theatre's PR team had teased it for weeks, promising that the audience would question reality itself. Now, reality seems to be questioning the audience. You scan the walls, no secret panels. You tap the floorboards, solid. You test the window latch, painted shut, an artisan seal that hasn't been disturbed in decades. Yet the smell of smoke lingers, faint but definite. You lift the brass incense holder from Dorian's table. Its embers are cold, but your fingertips come away dusty with ash mixed with something granular. Could it be flash powder, the compound magicians use for that instant bloom of fire? Time to reconstruct the timeline, Soria says, and she looks at you as if timing is a trick best learned from showfolk. Rehearsal ended at 10. The cast dispersed to their corners. At 10:15, the stage manager began her final lighting test. Logs show no anomalies until that surge at 11:46. Security footage in the hallway is pristine up to 11:30, when a random static burst erases 2 minutes, then resumes to show the same empty corridor. No doors open, no shadows move. How do you erase a hallway without touching a camera? You picture it. A smoke canister hidden in a vent. Time to fill the corridor with a dense fog. An infrared strobe blinds the camera while someone crosses unseen. But who and why risk such spectacle when stealth would suffice? You recall Dorian's habit of rehearsing dialogues with his reflection, tuning every line until it rang like crystal. Did someone know that routine and schedule the surge to mask their entrance? Was Dorian lured into his own dressing room by the promise of a last-minute prop change, only to become part of a terminal performance? Detective Soria interviews the cast on stage, and you listen as stories knit together. The fire eater admits noticing a draft backstage at 11:45. The contortionist swears she smelled burnt sugar, the scent of flash powder just before the lights flickered. Lila, the assistant, says she heard 3 sharp knocks from somewhere above, like a cue she'd forgotten. But when she looked, the catwalk was deserted. Each detail is a puzzle piece that refuses to lock. You wander to the wings, staring up at the fly system, where dozens of curtains and backdrops dangle like dormant ghosts. Something glints among the ropes, a silver coin no larger than a thumbnail. You pocket it and keep moving. Back in the lobby, thunder shudders the stained glass skylight. You flip the coin between your fingers, noticing its engraving, a tiny keyhole. Of course, Dorian's signature souvenir, sold at merch tables, designed to fit a hidden compartment inside the crystal cabinet, a coin that becomes a key that becomes a door. An idea crackles through you. Dorian loved nested illusions, tricks inside tricks that mirror life inside the mirror. What if tonight's final act began long before he walked on stage? What if the real vanishing was never meant for the audience but for him, engineered by someone who knew his obsession with impossible escapes? You race to the crystal cabinet stored off stage. It stands shrouded in a tarp, yet the lock plate is smeared with fresh ash. Inside, beneath the false floor, is a narrow tunnel leading not down but sideways toward the dressing room corridor. You crawl halfway before hitting a dead end, where the wood panel has been sawed and reattached. It would take days to carve that path, unless it had existed since the theatre's construction. With Soria at your side, you remove the panel and find a cramped service crawl space that surfaces directly behind Dorian's dresser. A one-way hatch, spring-loaded to close silently. Whoever entered could slip out of the cabinet, scuttle through the tunnel, emerge inside the dressing room, commit the murder, and lock the door from within. Escape would be just as easy in reverse, timed perfectly with the power surge that blacked out cameras and hid the cabinet's subtle shudder. So who possessed keys to the cabinet? Only Lila, whose fingerprint still coats the coin you discovered. Confronted, she confesses with a stage whisper. Dorian planned to replace her with a younger apprentice after tonight. Furious, she rewrote the script, turning the midnight vanishing into the ultimate disappearing act. She assumed a sealed room would crown her genius, but she never counted on an audience of one, someone like you, who could read the grammar of illusion. The thunder fades as police lead Lila away, and the opera house falls into a hush deeper than any blackout cue. You linger on stage, staring at the empty seats that will never know how close they came to witnessing a murder dressed as magic. The velvet curtain sways, and for an instant, you imagine Dorian stepping through it, bowing with that sly half-smile, proud that the mystery was solved with the very tools he cherished. So what have you learned tonight? Maybe that every lock invites a key, every secret passage aches to be found, and every illusionist, no matter how clever, is only mortal beneath the makeup. Or maybe you've learned something simpler. That curiosity is the most dangerous trick of all, because once it appears, it refuses to vanish. You close your umbrella, feel the raindrops cool on your skin, and step back into the night. Thunder now no more than a distant drum roll for the next mystery waiting in the wings.